Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and if you haven't played it yet, drop whatever you're doing that you think is better than playing Genealogy of the Holy War, and go play Genealogy of the Holy War. Please. Especially with all of the recent English patches that have come out, you guys are very spoiled if you are just now getting into this game, because I remember back in the good old days of the Garneth patch and older, where the epilogue was completely botched, completely bugged, which is a shame because the epilogue is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of the game. And now I'm going to be talking about a very specific element of this game, a specific unit that I've had a newfound appreciation for this last time I played this game. I think this is the fourth time I've played Genealogy of the Holy War, but since the last time I played it, I've become a much better Fire Emblem player. And so I have a newfound appreciation for this unit that can be kind of overlooked by some beginners. I'm sure if you've already played Genealogy of the Holy War in any kind of efficiency challenge or LTC, none of what I'm saying is going to be news to you, but Leif is a character that I have grown a newfound liking to due to his very unique attributes, especially once he promotes. In fact, we're going to be talking about a lot about his promotion and what he gets and all the crazy shit he can do. So when you first get Leif in Chapter 7, he really doesn't look like anything special. In fact, he's this like sword-locked, well not sword-locked because he gets more upon promotion, we're going to talk about that, but he starts off with just swords, infantry, and kind of just looks like a knockoff Seliph without pursuit, which is something that really doesn't look very appealing at first. In fact, his early performance is just not very good at all unless you put special care into getting him stuff like the pursuit ring, which you're probably not going to do if you're playing the game blind in any manner whatsoever. And you already have to contend with a very similar unit that you kind of have to train in Seliph, because Seliph is the only person who can seize castles, and that basically is how you progress through the game. So how strong Seliph is determines how fast you're going to be able to play the game. So you want to get him promoted and on his horse as soon as possible. And then Leif shows up and you're just kind of a little bit burnt out by trying to train Seliph, who's basically the same unit but better. And then Leif just shows up with no pursuit, just swords and infantry locked. And that's why a lot of beginners tend to overlook him, including me the first like 2 times I played the game. But then I put some training into Leif, and that's not too hard to do. I mean, you can do the same thing you do with the Sword Twins and just kind of grind him in the arena some, maybe feed him some kills in the chapter he joins, because he actually does get a lot of kills to his name there because he's kind of isolated with his little group with Finn and what's her name, Nana, the daughter of Lachesis. Fuck, I can't pronounce that name. I think in some translations it's Lachesis, but in others it's Rakishis. I don't know which one is right. I've played a bunch of translations of this game, but that's off topic. The point is, Leif takes some investment, but once he promotes, there's like one specific attribute that I noticed that he had this exclusive niche that made this game so much more fun to play for me. And that is that he gets A staves and he's mounted. Literally no other Gen 2 unit can do that. I'm pretty serious, like the only other mounted staff users are Nana and Fee. And for some fucking reason, Nana doesn't get her mother's promotion into Master Knight. And she gets promoted into Paladin instead, which only has C staves. I have no idea why. Like, if they had given her one more staff rank from her promotion, instead of keeping it the same, you could have given her Claude as a father and upped her staff rank to A, and she could have done it too. But as it stands, Leif with promotion is the only character in the game that can use the rescue staff and be mounted. And guys, you have no idea how huge that is for FE4. That's just absolutely amazing. This game isn't called Horse Emblem for no reason. The maps are absolutely enormous, and horses just kind of dominate the game. Even with just the movement, they would still dominate the game. But even on top of that, this game has like the most broken form of Kanto in the entire series. You can attack, use the rest of your movement, which can get boosted by roads and shit too, I didn't even mention that part, and then do another minor action. Like, holy shit, that's that's absolutely ridiculous. You can go from like attacking somebody to walking back 10 spaces and then visiting a village or talking to somebody in the same turn. That's absolutely nuts. Even dancers aren't actually that useful in this game without the leg ring or something. That's how crazy Kanto is in the game. And being able to rescue infantry units that have fallen behind to get to see more action is so huge. And obviously that doesn't work very well if the user of rescue isn't mounted. And so Leif kind of has that niche all on his own. And of course, for the more efficient player, even better than rescuing infantry units is rescuing other mounted units so that they can get to objectives faster with their huge movement. And yeah, that's just so great as well. It feels so satisfying to basically rescue units across the map, having them run across the other half to get to an objective in like 1 or 2 turns. I even did this in the last map in order to get Leif a lot closer to Julia and be able to have him talk to her the turn right after he sees the Veltomer from Manfroy. And usually that's a very tedious process if you're just trying to go the entire way based on Leif's movement alone. And it also makes the dancers a lot more, well, the dancer a lot more useful on their own with just their like 5 or 6 movement. I forget how much they have, if they have 5 or 6. But they're going to be left behind really quickly. And if you use the rescue staff to help them catch up, they can actually be kind of useful, like in other Fire Emblem games. So yeah, rescue in general is just so satisfying to use. It's the closest you're going to get to warp in Fire Emblem 4, because similar to how Fates doesn't have the warp staff at all, it just has rescue. Warp actually does exist in this game, but it functions very differently from how it usually does, where you can only send units to one of your castles, and that's usually not very useful for progression, since in order to warp them there, you have to already have seized them. So warp is very situationally useful, and rescue is about the closest you're gonna get. Well, specifically, rescue with mount is the closest you'll get in FE4 to traditional warp. And on top of that, like, the Master Knight is just an awesome class. Like, in most Fire Emblem games, caps don't really matter too much, and in this game it's mostly the same as well, since enemy quality can be kind of low. But that being said, the caps are low enough to that most characters do actually reach those stat caps. And the Master Knight has some of the best set of caps in the entire game. Like, the Swordmaster gives it some competition, but the Swordmaster isn't mounted, so it doesn't fucking matter. Like, the Master Knight has better overall stat caps than the Knight Lord class. You know, the class with the 2 best characters in the game. All of this, and I haven't even mentioned the thing that the Master Knight class is most notorious for, and that's the fact that it can use basically every weapon in the game. It has straight A ranks in almost every single weapon type available to any character in the game, except for light magic and dark magic. And dark magic doesn't really matter, because at this point Kaga hadn't decided he was going to let us use dark magic until the next game. We do actually have a playable character that uses dark magic. For some reason, that didn't happen until like 5 games into the franchise. And then for light magic, he only has a C for some reason. Keep in mind, this Fire Emblem game doesn't really have like weapon experience. That isn't a thing. Fire Emblem 3 uses a different system altogether, and in Fire Emblem 4, each class just has a fixed weapon rank that you can't change. And so Master Knight automatically has A ranks in everything except for light and dark. And like, the thing with the light magic at C, like, that's the most hilarious thing to me, is that everything else is at A, and then just randomly Kaga's just like, I guess we'll give him light magic, but just at C for some fucking reason. Like, that's such a Kaga thing to do, where it's just like, yeah, let's just have this mounted class that can use everything, but let's just give them C light, to make them seem like they're not omnipotent. So, in conclusion, use Leif, play Genealogy of the Holy War, hell, play Fire Emblem in general. I know a lot of people that watch me don't actually play a whole lot of Fire Emblem. That's not the type of content I usually upload. I've tried before, tried and kind of fell off of that for a little while. Yeah, I should probably... I really want to do a Fire Emblem Let's Play one of these days, but it's going to have to be something like... something a bit more stimulating than just like vanilla Path of Radiance, for example. I know that just didn't last long at all. Maybe it'll be Genealogy of the Holy War, but like, there's a lot of micromanaging and like resource management, and the maps are big. I don't know if that's the best game for Let's Play, unless it's something like a hack of it or something, like people have tried to patch the game to balance things out. I personally am not really for those kinds of patches. I feel like the game, with all of its idiosyncrasies and quirks, is just fine the way it is. Maybe FE6. FE6 would be good to do. That is a really interesting game. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, I'm done rambling. I guess I'm back. My computer hasn't been fixed yet. I've taken it to a place and it's been there for about a week because I've forgotten to pick it up. They're doing a diagnosis on it. So I'm just recording from my laptop. So if that's the quality you're gonna get until I get until I get my PC back and I get into the groove of things. What I plan to upload when that happens, I think my top priority right now is getting back on Pokemon Rejuvenation. That's been updated forever ago and I haven't played it at all because I want to keep myself somewhat blind for when I start my save file back up. Hopefully I still have access to that. If for some reason I'm not able to, like, if I lose my hard drive, for example, for some reason, I do have a save file on my laptop that's updated. It's just not going to be the same one. Okay, I'm talking too much. Bye.